Bourbonbarkeep, my name's Curtis. We got a limited release here, a fairly reasonably priced limited release here, but is it actually worth your money? Let's see. 13th Colony, their newest limited release, if you will, a maple finished bourbon. I was slightly intrigued, not the biggest Finnish whiskey fan. Sealbox had a lottery, and I was like, I'll throw my name in the hat. $63, what can it hurt? And then I found out that it was $25 shipping, and I said, no thank you. Walked into a local grocery store, and I was like, that's a different label than 13th Colony usually has. Sure enough, stumbled into it. I looked up at the heavens. I said, obviously, this is you. Snagged it, and we're going to find out, is she any good, or was I just fooled again by another limited edition, limited release that has no right to be limited or on shelves? We shall see. 13th Colony, these guys have absolutely blown up with their double oak cask strength, just their regular cask strength. Everybody's looking for it. Couldn't find it. Never has I even sniffed it. Haven't even seen it in a raffle, just even wave at it. But here we are with this guy. We're here for you. So let's focus on this one. 13th Colony had a bit of a hiccup in terms of their transparency. Some distillers take pride in the transparency. 13th Colony may have allegedly blurred the lines on this bottle. They're righting the ship. They're saying, we're a new beginning, we're a new creation. These guys actually put on the label, distilled in Indiana, but aged and bottled in Georgia. So we're turning the page on some of the old news, potentially fake news, and we're saying, hey, let's put you in our mouths again. And did people really care? Didn't seem like it, because everybody was crowning him Whiskey of the Year. This was released around mid-March. I know there was just a smaller list of states that got it. I don't know the reasoning behind it. Was pretty pumped that Missouri was one, because usually Missouri, no one shows them, even though they tell them, show me state. No one shows them sometimes. This one's going to be finished with toasted maplewood spirals. So unlike your Penelope Havana, to where they're just dumping the whiskey into another maple syrup barrel, this one they're just sticking in spirals. Is it going to be less intense than Havana? Kind of hoping so. This is coming in at 113 proof and non-age stated, but the website does say 5 to 6 years old. So kind of pumped about the proof. I'm not going to lie to you. Kind of like that 107, maybe 115 range, but I feel like you could dive into the juice a little bit more. Gives you a nice hug, but not overpowering, to where you can kind of go back. Just kind of enjoy yourself rather than sleep in your own throw up like some of these barrel proofs are doing. Looking at you, Jacob's Pardon, and 13th Century. Last bit of info for at least the whiskey nerds out there. We got 70% corn, 21% rye, and 9% malted barley. And I believe we said $63 is SRP. Should you pay above? Should you pay below? I don't think that's a thing. Let's get this on the nose and answer these questions that we've asked throughout the episode. Now it's time to get into the good stuff, or the average stuff. We shall see. I was trying to come in here thinking, do I have to say maple? I'm going to say maple. There is like a very nice, this is not in my mind, I would like to think. There is a toasted Eggo waffle in here, like a pastry, but a toasted pastry that I am actually pretty pumped for. Yeah. It's there. Maybe like a toffee, but that maple's there. Nice kind of, there is a heavy amount of oak. I don't know if it's because they were throwing in these spirals to where there's just more wood in the barrels anyways. But for 5 to 6 years, a lot of oak on the nose as well. I will go to my grave knowing that this is maple, not seeking out Eggo waffle. I will go to my grave that there is a toasted waffle in here, and I am pumped for it. A little honey. That chocolate is a little in there. The bottle says smoky oak. I don't know if I'm going smoke. There could be some barrel char in there. I mean, maybe that's going into kind of that overly toasted Eggo waffle now. Let's get onto the palate and see what we got. Okay, it's pretty delightful. Zaps the tongue, hangs around for a good bit. Maple, some chocolate, really nice dark chocolate actually. Rich, forward, dark chocolate. Kind of here for it. Is that pastry there? I don't think so. It's more of a maple influence. Like that dark chocolate's really on the forefront, goes into more of like maybe a honey sweetness, a lighter, brighter sweetness than what I was kind of anticipating based off of the nose. Was a little excited for that waffle to continue. There's a nuttiness there, like a hazelnut maybe? It's like a creamy nuttiness. That will never not be weird to say. Dark chocolate, hazelnut, a little honey in there. The proof is great, kind of what I was expecting. It may drink a little under, but I do still kind of get that chocolate residue on the tongue, a little bit in the chest, just enough to kind of let you know you're drinking a little adult pour here. But overall, color me intrigued. Sip 2. This is when battles are won and lost on this channel. Sip 2. Sip 2 brightened up a little bit in a good way. I think that honey was still there. I think maybe that orange that was just slightly there on the nose was a little more on sip 2. If I were to poke holes, this is pretty tannic. I mean, there is a big drying effect even on sip 2, to where, at least for my palate, that's how the newest Booker's batch was. It was just really drying. And some people can handle it. I try and steer away. I prefer a little bit more of a velvety or viscous mouthfeel rather than something that makes me feel like I'm licking sandpaper. That chocolate's still there. That hazelnut is still there. Was anything else come out? As it does kind of sit on the palate, I would argue it's kind of like a waffle cone, maybe kind of sitting out there. That pastry, I just can't get around it. I really like it. I don't think it's in my head, but there's like this nice waffle cone. One of the few times that vanilla is really not there, but I don't think that maple is punching you in the face like what the Penelope Havana did. I think it's just kind of taken in this back seat, not in a bad way. I think that this is a really good pour. Overall, pretty impressed. We're going to get into some scoring in a second, but really, at least closing thoughts, I don't think that this is going to be an overly complex pour, not in a bad way. I don't think everything needs 15 tasting notes, but I think what the experience is pretty darn good, especially if you're talking $63. It's not bad, and I don't think that's really even taking the limited release into account either. So, scoring wise, we have some categories. That's going to be pure senses. What's in the glass, doesn't matter age, proof, nothing. Just experience, all of that fun stuff. Then we do a little bang for the buck. That way we can actually take into account $63, however old the bottle is, proof, things like that. So for $63, how will that score first, senses wise? I don't think this is a blow my socks off pour. I think it's highly enjoyable. Me not being a finished whiskey person, highly enjoyable. Would I think it's finished if someone poured me this blind? I don't think so. I think that just comes across as a really good whiskey. Yeah. So, knowing that, I wouldn't say it under-delivered unless you were going in with Penelope Havana type maple syrup barrel finish in mind. You'd be a little disappointed. Overall, I like this kind of chocolate, Eggo, hazelnut kind of going on. I'm a candy bar guy, so it's going to do decent at least. I would have a tough time putting this into the great category. I think that gets thrown around a little bit. So I'm going to put it high into the good stuff. It's definitely very good. I'm going to go 78. I think it's very impressive. Love the proof on it. The experience is great. And I'm not a big dessert whiskey fan, so I would lean this if I were to run into the other sweeter dessert pours from Penelope, for example. Now, bang for the buck time. This one's going to be extremely difficult to actually assess, if you will, because I was coming in here thinking, ooh, is this going to be a Penelope Havana 13th Colony face-off at the end of this thing? And it's not close. Like, they're not close in experience or anything. The Penelope Havana is this thick dessert pour, has its own little lane. This one comes across just not as finished, kind of in a good way for me. I love the proof on it. At $63, I would pay slightly above if I saw this for $75. I've had a pour of it, but I didn't own the bottle. Yeah, $75. $80, stretching. It's a really great experience. So we'll go 71. I was kind of tempted to go a little higher because I feel like with whiskey inflation at this point, this is a pretty great value. But with me not willing to go up to 80, I'm gonna rein it in a little bit. So there's your scoring. This is going to qualify for, obviously, the Bourbon Barkeep Whiskey of the Year rankings. Will we revisit and bump it up, lower it? We shall, or we won't. I don't know. We'll see come end of the year. Overall, pretty good. I think if you see it, even if you're not a finished whiskey fan, I think everybody's a fan of finishing, but this one, I would probably pull the trigger on it, 65. I said 75. It's not bad. I'm curious what your thoughts are. If it's hit your market yet, if it's worth a snag, I think yes. If it hasn't hit your market, I've been there before many times. Keep the faith, keep the grind, like, subscribe. Thank you all for showing up. And I don't even know if you make it this far. So there's that piece of it.